Watch this.
On this election eve, school bonds and levies are on the minds of voters. But so is what's being said about one specific levy, where one district is hoping local hearsay isn't changing voters' minds. So you don't feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders?
Nope. Not at all. Maybe it's just because I have lived in Midvale, but I don't feel that at all. At all.
We get to hear the thoughts on their future from those graduating from Midvale High School. Well, not all 8 of them. That would be silly. You know, 8 is a nice round number. And now the 8th Street Tunnel is a nice place to walk or ride through, thanks to the anti-hate ideas of one artist and dozens of her Boise friends who turned the tunnel into a canvas of inclusion. Third Tuesday of May, the traditional Tuesday for school bonds and levies elections. It's also a tradition, in fact, it's state law, for school district administrators to remain mum when it comes to talking about that bond or levy. They can't advocate for or against them leading up to the election. But one school district has something to say today because of what has been said about the upcoming levy election. Parma School District is worried rumors being spread around the community might ruin their levy's chances. Worried it might not pass just to prove a point. Joe Paris, what is the point that Parma's trying to make today?
Well, they're trying to say, look, whether you're in support or against our levy, we just want to know, or we just want to tell you and make sure you know what you're voting for. So the school district says that they're trying to tell the community that they're asking for a continued levy because of changes in how the state of Idaho sends money to school districts. That changed recently from sending funds based on enrollment to being based on daily average attendance, or ADA. Now, Parma says because of the change, they're losing a lot of money. So the Parma School District has a special pop-up window on their website that reads, "We have heard rumors that there are community members telling other community members to vote no on the supplemental levy in order to prove a point to the administration. We hope this is not true, as the continuation of the supplemental levy is for the benefit of the students and the programs for their kids." As you can imagine, they want to see this passed. Now, the superintendent up there, Stoney Winston, he told me earlier that the rumors and the situation in Parma, it's all rooted in a personnel issue. He can't expand on that, but he says the community there, they know what we're talking about. The district says they want people in the community to understand the impact of voting. Yes or no, whatever their choice is.
Going from enrollment to ADA, it was about a $700,000 hit. So, and looking at the budget, we're not increasing any of our supplies or anything like that, even though inflation has gone through the roof. We're keeping those supply accounts the same. We're just trying to maintain our current staffing.
School district adds in their message to the community that if the supplemental levy were to fail tomorrow, they may be forced to make some cuts to staffing, and that includes their first-year school resource officer, the first one in school history, a counselor position, a STEM teacher, as well as paraprofessionals, among some other things. And the district says that there's some other options. They said they could also not fill some current openings and make changes within the building. They could also move to Bryan. Something we're seeing in other school districts when these funding things come up is it'd be pay to play for after-school sports and activities. So other changes, they could take a look at class size, teacher workload. The district says, however you vote, though, they want people to know the facts are out there and that you are sending a message with whatever your vote is.
You said it's a personnel issue. Is this a case of somebody having a beef with somebody who works at the district?
Yeah, and then of course, for personnel issues, not personal, personnel issues, they can't comment on it. And really, as you touched on, they're really not allowed to say a lot of things on bonds and levies. So we'll follow this tomorrow as the votes start to come in. But yeah, interesting situation in Parma.
Yeah, kind of put the squash on some of those rumors that are flying around. All right, some of the districts have to see a lot of, I'm sure, or sadly this time of year, this day and age. Thanks, Joe. All right, so several school districts looking for a little help for the future. This is the time of the year when high school seniors might be looking back on the last dozen or so years of their lives. For most, that K through 12 career comes to a close as soon as this week. So we wanted to talk to a few of those outgoing graduates, specifically about the last few years and about the next few. Our first stop, Midvale, Idaho, which is known for two things, being halfway to halfway Oregon and the home to former Senator Larry Craig. Well, now they can add a graduating class that wouldn't be big enough to field a baseball team. That's right, we spoke with half the graduating class of the halfway to halfway high school. Smack in the middle of Washington County, at the edge of the valley for which it's named, sits Midvale, Idaho. A place where fewer than 200 people and a lot of cows call home. Agriculture's roots run deep here, as does the high schools, which has served the community since 1911. There isn't much to it, just 90 lockers, a handful of classrooms, and 2 state title banners won in the last 3 years. It also has one of the smallest graduating classes in southern Idaho. So we sat down with half of them.
I feel like that's so awkward.
To ask a few questions.
Do I just look forward?
About where they've been.
Just a little.
And where they're going.
I don't like this.
Beginning with, what's it like?
I've never done this before, so.
Living in such a small town.
It's just kind of slow. My name is Marian Hansen, and I am 17 years old.
Everybody kind of knows everybody.
Everyone's really pretty much related to each other, whether through family or through marriage or through blood, but we're all pretty much related.
Everyone knows everything about everyone else. It's the most, I guess, stereotypical thing you could say, but it is the most accurate thing.
It's just the same thing. It's predictable. It's just the same thing every day. You know, you wake up, you go to school, you go to practice, and then you come home, and then you just do that until you graduate.
Class of 23.
Yes.
Class of 23 sounds a lot bigger than it really is. How many are graduating with you?
8.
Just 8?
Just 8.
4 girls and 4 boys. Crazy, huh?
Not here.
To us, it's kind of just a normal day.
In a school where most have seen the same faces in class every day.
Since preschool.
It is a long time with the same people. That is very true.
Downside, we're like brothers and sisters. You know, good days, bad days. My name is Trenton Hicks. I am 18, and I am in the graduating class of 2023. Sometimes you want to give each other a hug. Sometimes you don't want to touch each other with a 10-foot pole.
You went to high school during a pandemic.
Yeah, so it was my freshman year. I remember it was spring break, and I remember sitting in my room and my mom telling me that we weren't going to go back to school because of COVID.
It was, my freshman year. So I remember I was like, am I not going to go to high school for the rest of my high school career? My name is Manon Tyler, and I am 17 years old. My mom's kind of a clean freak and a germaphobe, so I wasn't able to see any of my friends at all during COVID. I think it was July before I got to actually do stuff. And I just remember seeing people who were always so calm about things and very collected, and they were freaking out. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
I was like, there's a bad sickness going around. I'm like, oh, well, there's the flu and all that. It can't be much different. And then it shut everything down. And you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't go to school, couldn't see people.
Was it hard for you?
Yeah, don't let me go to online school again. That's all I got to say for that one.
I did online school, and then I also did driver's ed at that time. And I was able to do all of that from home, which was nice because I think it helped my grades a little bit because they were a little more lenient with the pandemic. My name is Hadley Atnip, and I am 17 years old. I really think that they overanalyzed the pandemic. For some people, I do think it could have been a big deal, but for others, I feel like it could just be a normal thing, you know.
We came back the next year, the next fall, and nothing happened. We didn't have any restrictions. We didn't have to wear a mask. We didn't have to stay 6 feet from anyone. So I guess it wasn't any different. We just had a really long spring break.
It was definitely different, but it was way more normal compared to what a lot of other kids had to go through.
It's weird to think that in 15 years they're gonna write a history book on this, and I'll be oh my gosh, when kids talk about it, I'll be yeah, I lived through that is gonna be weird to think about. But I guess I've never really thought about that until just now.
Next year you're gonna be 18.
I am.
There's an election.
There is an election.
Have you thought about that? I mean, you're gonna be in your first election.
I am. I remember thinking when I turn 18, I get to vote, and that is the coolest thing ever. But then, especially this year that I'm getting closer to turning 18 and being a technical adult, I guess, I'm I actually have to make a good decision based on what I prefer. And then I also have to consider other people's opinions. And I was there's a lot of thinking to that.
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for breakfast tomorrow, so.
In government, when we talk about election and stuff, it goes through one ear and out the other because I don't know anything about politics. I don't really care for them. So I might vote, but I don't really care for it. That probably sounds really bad. But I don't know, I've never thought about it.
Are you worried about having to make those decisions and what they might lead to?
I'm terrified, I really am, because Personally, I feel like I don't have a lot of knowledge on that. And I think especially in smaller schools, there's a little bit of a bias, which is, I'm not saying is bad or good. I'm just saying that's what it is when you grow up in a small community and school. And so I think that there's definitely been a little bit of lack of education and I think a lot of people my age can agree to that, or what your parents tell you.
When your family gets together and talks politics, what are they talking about?
I don't really know. I just always hear Joe Biden's name and like COVID and like the shot, like the COVID shot. That's all we talk about. I don't know. It's just so boring to me. But yeah.
Like I never asked about politics that much, but I'd always listen to my parents talking about the elections and everything and talking about how this person's doing in the election or this person, and I just kind of learned like this is the best way, not the left side. So.
Have you thought much about like being able to participate in your first election?
I've thought about it a little bit. I feel like it was kind of rigged, the last election, if I'm going to be honest.
I am grateful enough that I grew up with a family that kind of educated me in different aspects. I definitely was raised to understand other people and get that your life is not the only thing that's happening. There's way bigger things and different cultures and races and just ideas and religions, and there's so many different things, and I'm excited to like one-on-one experience that.
What about the world that you are inheriting? What about where you're heading into? Are you...
Terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. It is so scary. I think that social media makes it way more difficult and scarier than it is, but I also think that there's a lot of things that social media doesn't cover that are even scarier. I'm scared to have kids and a family and raise them because things seem difficult now. Who knows what it'll be like in 20 years, 15, 10. It's just crazy.
What's the outlook for the class of 2023?
I've never really thought about that either.
Oh, where do I see myself? Everybody asks me that, and I don't know, because I want to say that I'll be succeeding. But at the same time, I mean, I just never know.
Okay, so you're going to go to college. Mm-hmm. What's it going to be like leaving this place and going to the big city of Pocatello?
I'm scared. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm really scared. I'm also excited on the part where I get to meet new people and hopefully kind of find my crowd, I guess, and kind of see what life is like outside of Midvale.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Are you worried about the future?
Not really. I mean, I want to do this on my own, and I want to get my license, and I want to get my dream job, and just live out the rest of my life doing it until I don't want to work anymore.
I have a plan, but I don't have a plan. I have a 5-year plan, but not like a right now plan, you know? And I feel like if you're more worried about like what's gonna happen in the future, I feel like you're not even gonna know what's happening right now. When I have kids, I don't want them to be like, oh, like what did you do when this happened? I don't want to be like, oh, I don't remember. Like I want to tell them like what happened, like what life was like when I was a teenager, and not be worried about all this political stuff that's happening in the world. If you don't think about it, then it doesn't get heavy.
That's a good point. Don't think about it, doesn't get heavy. Just kind of focus on the now. Marin says this summer she's going to continue to work for the Forest Service, but she's excited to move in with her sister in Rexburg and attend BYU Idaho this fall. She's going to study zoology and wants to be a wildlife biologist. Manon is going to Weber State, and she wants to study criminal justice and sociology and wants to get into family law. Hadley is headed to Pocatello to attend Idaho State, as you heard, and she wants to be an occupational therapist. Trenton, who told us he'll be the first in his family to graduate high school, wants to get his pilot's license from Treasure Valley Community College and work in the area. Neither of the 3 girls we spoke with, though, said they see themselves moving back to Midvale anytime soon. Class of 8 in Midvale. So how about a class of 528 in Boise? Later this week, we're going to be speaking to some of them from one of the largest graduating classes in southern Idaho.
Like the work of the Weston Center, the mural offsets the negative image of Idaho as a place of intolerance and hatred and instead promotes respect for human dignity and diversity.
Which is quite the transformation, considering the space, the 8th Street Tunnel along the Boise Greenbelt, was once space used to spread anti-Semitism. The artist Addie Boswell took it upon herself, along with more than 50 local volunteers, to create something that is the opposite of hate. She called the mural E Pluribus Unum, same as our U.S. motto, out of many, one. And the mural includes many images of what makes Boise unique and why that diversity should be celebrated.
We have transgender pride, climate justice. The symbol on the woman's shirt is a symbol that some survivors of abuse take on. And I think a lot of these people in these groups are in the minority and we don't see them as much. So I think this was a way to show them that, you know, we see you, even though, you know, you're not seen all the time.
It's a pretty good place to be seen, a pretty popular spot. In case you're not familiar with why this tunnel took on the intent and necessity it did, we were able to spend some time with artist Addie Boswell while she was putting it together last October. Addie is a muralist from Portland, Oregon.
I'm happiest when I'm covered in paint and out in the community painting a wall somewhere.
Painting this wall, this tunnel under an old railroad bridge, is a response to a recent incident of racist graffiti, meant to be a message of hate considering its location, leading to Boise's Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial. Covering that canvas of contempt is what Addie was asked to do.
There's a line in Rent, the musical, that the answer to war isn't peace, it's creation. And I've always loved that line. I think, you know, that's the best thing you can do.
Aided by her daughter's hula hoop,
I think I'm gonna have to get a new one too, because I got it all painty.
Addie says the idea is centered on a series of circles.
It does help with the circles.
Filled with what it's like to be a Boisean.
Come help us if you want. I'll give you a paintbrush.
What it's like to step in another person's shoes, to see from another point of view.
Inclusivity was the big thing because it was in answer to this graffiti that was anti-Semitic. This was all about inclusion.
The entire mural, top to bottom, is grounded in the chestnut tree, symbolic of Anne Frank's connection to the outside world while she hid from Nazis in an attic.
In all the overlapping circles, we've got all these symbols that represent different cultural groups and different things people are proud of, so symbols and flags. And it's all kind of, you know, mixed together in a mosaic because we're all connected, whether we want to be or not. So.
All squeezed into about 1,000 square feet.
Oh, it's never enough space, but I jammed as much as I could in there.
And she did it with the help of dozens of actual Boiseans.
I mean, every time I walk by, I'll smile at it.
I think we've had maybe 60 or 70 all together helping out. It's been really cool.
Well, if you find yourself in the 8th Street Tunnel, stop and take a second to kind of look around. Maybe you'll find something there that relates to you, or maybe you might learn something about one of your neighbors.
Well, our weather across southern Idaho and eastern Oregon today has been a little bit like the 208, kind of all over the place, right? We had a little bit of everything, let's put it that way, for our Monday. Right now, skies over Boise are overcast. We had a storm roll through Boise itself, Boise proper, about an hour and a half ago. Temperatures at that point dipped into the 60s. We're back up to 75 in the City of Trees. Our official high for today, though, will be 82 in Boise. That happened earlier this afternoon. So a bit of a roller coaster ride as far as temperatures go. And look at the activity out here. This is a very busy weather map. I'm going to zoom in on just a couple of points of interest here. The big takeaway, though, from what you just saw, that wide view, is that it's an unsettled evening, another evening of active weather. If you have outdoor plans, you're getting ready to head out the door here in a little bit, be ready for some storms. And remember, these storms tonight are moving from the south to the north, southwest to northeast. And so Ontario's getting hit right now. The bulk of this storm looks like it's moving away from Ontario, headed towards Weiser, likely up to Cambridge next. Emmett seeing some light rain there as well. Boise in the clear for the moment, but you had east of Boise along the I-84 corridor, or just north of the interstate there. Glens Ferry, you're just coming out of the storm. It will continue tracking up to the north, and these storms are producing 50-mile-per-hour gusts. Dozens of lightning strikes, pea-sized hail has been reported as well. So use caution if you're headed out and about. Maybe have a plan B in your back pocket to head inside. This area of low pressure kind of trekked from east to west. Yesterday, it will pinwheel for the next little bit, maybe the next 24 to 36 hours. For the rest of the evening here in the Boise area, things are looking pretty good. We'll dip down into the 60s around 10 o'clock. We'll stay around 60 all the way into the midnight hours, early morning hours. Overnight lows will hit the mid-50s for the next couple of mornings. High temperatures, though, stay well above average. We're talking 80s through Thursday. And then look at the heat, Brian, that comes on. Is that not a fan?
I'm not
low
yet.
90s.
No, I'll take that in June, but May, I guess we're getting there. It's better than it was like 2 weeks ago when we saw that
somehow
temperature.
It seems a little better mentally. Yeah, we hit 90 on April 30th, but these temperatures are more like mid-July than mid-May. So it is a lot really early. Just be prepared. We're giving you 5 days to get ready for that 90-degree heat.
We want to welcome Rachel to the KTVB family.
Thank you.
We already got a text message. I want to read this to you from Roy, the new lady. She looks familiar.
Hi, Roy. I probably do look familiar. Yes, I have been forecasting in the Treasure Valley for almost a decade. I spent my entire news career here. Stepped away about 18 months ago. But I missed forecasting. I still loved the business. I've always loved KTVB, so I'm really excited to be part of the team here.
Well, we're welcome. I'm glad you stepped onto the Treasure Valley TV carousel. Back to it.
Back on. Took a brief break, hopped back on. Here I am.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on the 208. I know weather's not always a thing here, so I appreciate you having me on my first day.
It's a thing when it's a thing.
Okay, and it's a thing today.
Exactly.
Lots of things.
And we'll see you back when it is a thing.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you very much, Rachel. We'll be right back. couple of comments today about our chat with the Midvale High School graduating seniors, class of 8. Dan says, I'm so jealous. Would have loved that. Mine was more than 1,000. That seems like a lot. 1,000 people in your class. It was interesting to see the Midvale High Schoolers thinking about the world and what they're doing in the future, said Amy in Boise. By the way, you saw the sign in the background. The Tri-Valley Titans, I think, were Titans, excuse me. They kind of join up for sports teams there in Midvale. That's how that works out. Graduating seniors, please embrace life and education. Vote. Democracy doesn't pass via DNA, so get involved politically is what they're saying. We'll see you tomorrow.